We're here outside Gracie Mansion in New York City. It's kind of like the mayor's equivalent of the White House. And since the 1940s, starting with Fiorello LaGuardia, every mayor, with the exception of Michael Bloomberg, has called this place home. And tonight, we're finding out who's going to be living here next. 3 distinct candidates, 3 distinct visions for New York City, but only one of them is going to get to call this place home come January. Skylar and Oliver, back to you in Morningside. We're here in Times Square, the tourist capital of New York City and quite possibly the entire world. And tonight we're asking New Yorkers, people from out of state, and people from all across the globe who they're supporting in the 2025 New York mayoral race. Let's get to it. You live in New York?
Born and raised.
So what makes you not want to vote tomorrow?
It's a long story. But, whoever wins, I hope they do a good job and keep New Yorkers in their mind and help clean up the subway system. It's really unsafe down there.
Who are you guys voting for tomorrow?
I'm not from New York City.
We're reporting on it too, so we care, but we can't vote.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's what the people in Times Square are saying. Not a whole lot of New Yorkers, but a whole lot of opinions. Back to you in the studio.
Actually, in a change of plan after that announcement from the Associated Press, we're going live to Zach Jaworski, who is at the campaign headquarters of Zohran Mamdani.
Hi, how's it going, Oliver? As you guys just reported, they just called this race now for Zohran Mamdani. I don't think people were expecting that early of a night. I mean, I have to say, I've been out since 6:30 this morning. I've been covering this race. There were Mamdani supporters out, and they were energized that early today. It's now 14, 15 hours later, and people are still out. They're still energized. The line was around the block. The entirety of Brooklyn seemed to be wanting to get into this hottest ticket in town. And now the race called this early for Zohran Mamdani. There was an audible cheer when that happened. I wish you guys could cut in just a second earlier, but that's all right. But yeah, people seem excited here, and the crowd isn't even really full. They're still expecting about 2,000 people here. Now we're waiting to see if Mr. Mamdani will come on stage anytime soon. You can hear that right there. That's how early this race got called. People are really, really optimistic. They were optimistic all day, and this race just got called. When I was talking in line with people, they said they had cautious optimism. That cautious optimism has went out the window, and now it's full-on celebration here in Brooklyn.
Paying really closely. Did anybody in the campaign expect it to be called this quickly?
No, so I was talking to campaign staffers outside for about an hour while I was waiting in line with the press. That's another thing. There are so many people waiting in line to get, like I said earlier, this is one of the hottest tickets in town. When I was talking to the campaign, I had plenty of time to do so. That was the word they used constantly, was cautious optimism. They saw the polls, and of course, like Professor Mehta was talking about earlier, polling aggregates are way more important than one-off polls, but those recent one-off polls showed the race tightening. But still, people here decided that was going to be a reason for them to be a little bit cautious about their optimism for Mamdani. But of course, looking over the course of the last few months, he's been leading in the polls by double digits, and that excitement seems to have dispersed here.
I'm going to cut back to Zach, who I believe is still at Mamdani headquarters. Zach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Oliver, and I am still here, and so are the 2,000 other people who are showing up for this Zohran Mamdani event tonight. And listening back to what Sydney said about Mr. Mamdani's biggest surprise of the day, I'm sure he'd amend that to having the race called before 10 o'clock at night. I don't think anybody was expecting that this early. Also, I think he might change a little bit too. He said he didn't want it to end. He didn't want the excitement of the campaign to end. Now he gets to try his hand at government. It's really just starting for Mayor-elect Mamdani. We're in the Bronx at Lou Gehrig Plaza, where Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani just about an hour ago helped to light the Bronx Christmas tree, which you can see right here behind me. Right after that, Zohran Mamdani decided to cross the street and get out of the cold to head into the Bronx Borough President's office to address reporters, and here's what he had to say. Governor Hochul, who he needs on his side to do that, is not yet committed to doing so. So he's encouraging the governor and hoping that by any means necessary, they can explore outside funding options to bring those policies and programs to life in New York City. If you've walked down the streets of New York City after Christmas time, odds are you've seen that. Lines and lines of Christmas trees that people are leaving out on the curb. You might be wondering, like myself, how exactly those get taken care of? Who gets rid of them? As usual, Mayor Mamdani was on brand, talking about affordability being one of the top issues he's hoping to accomplish over his first term as mayor of New York City. I'm here in Lower Manhattan for Zohran Mamdani's formal inauguration this afternoon. He was sworn in at midnight in the Old City Hall train station, but this is the ceremonial version, which is happening today. They are expecting crowds around 40,000. It's seeming like it's quite a bit more than that. A lot of people are not going to be able to get in, even though they were expecting to be able to. So we spent some time talking to people in line waiting outside.
In our city.
That's right. Public toilets, that's the talk of the day. Zohran Mamdani alongside City Council Speaker Julie Menin in West Harlem announcing a pilot program that will bring dozens of public toilets that don't need waterline hookups to New York City. It's a plan that he says comes from personal experience.
And then suddenly you feel it. You have to go to the bathroom.
It's something he says will bring dignity to New Yorkers. When asked about the timeline, well, that's where it gets a little bit iffy. He's not quite sure. And while New York City is getting safer, it's still a concern about how these public bathrooms will stay safe, especially at night. I asked the mayor about that. So do you have any plans or any thoughts looking forward on how you might keep these public restrooms safe?
This cannot be.
Also, something totally off topic that came up was Nicolas Maduro being held in New York City. Of course, the now former Venezuelan acting president is being held here in New York after being taken out of Venezuela by U.S. Special Forces. Mayor Mamdani was asked whether he had federal security clearance and if he's had further conversations with President Trump in Washington about holding Maduro here.
And the question of federal.
On Tuesday, Mamdani signed an executive order extending the state of emergency at Rikers Island, New York City's largest jail. Mayors Bill de Blasio and Eric Adams have signed similar executive orders every 5 days since September of 2021. What's different about Mamdani's executive order is it gives Department of Correction officials in New York City 45 days to draft a plan to close Rikers Island. It's basically pushing off a legally required closure of Rikers Island as outlined in a 2019 City Council resolution. But first, the mayor made a decision for his own housing earlier this week, opting to live in Gracie Mansion, where every mayor with the exception of Michael Bloomberg has lived since the 1940s. I'm Jaworski. The race for New York City mayor heated up last night as Zohran Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa clashed in a debate over public safety and housing policy. Mamdani pressed for affordable housing solutions, while Cuomo defended his record on infrastructure. Sliwa focused his attacks on subway crime and quality of life issues. Polls show the race remains competitive with less than a month until Election Day.